Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Attention extension filers. Tax help is available anytime on IRS.gov, IRS.gov, the IRS website. COVID tax tip 2021-71, May 20th, 2021. The deadline for taxpayer who requested an extension to file is going to be here before they know it. The deadline for these filers to submit their 2020 federal tax returns is Friday, October 15th, 2021. So if you are on extension, then you might ask, well, when do I have to file then if I'm on extension now? We're back to the normal date. They didn't push out the date yet. They haven't changed anything at this point in time. Give them time. They might, change dates and do some funny stuff up at some point. But as of now, the end date is the same as it has been in the past. We're back to normal by that point. That's October 15th. 2021. So the IRS has a variety of helpful tools and resources, and many of them are available anytime on IRS.gov. Here are a few of them. We have the IRS Free File, so that's that free file software, which I believe is available up until the extension time for this tax year for 2020. So you want to make sure that if you want to take advantage of that, and that's a great tool to take advantage of, then make sure that you're picking it up before the deadline so that you have access to it. So Free File offers free access to brand name tax software to anyone who makes $72,000 or less. There are 9 Free File products in English and 1 in Spanish. Those who'd earned more can use Free File Fillable Forms, the electronic version of IRS paper forms. So in other words, if you're under the $72,000 threshold, there should be at least one of the softwares that would be qualifying for you. They all have different kind of thresholds and requirements, but there should be at least one that should be there for you. Also, when you pick them up, make sure that you also are looking into the state requirements. So if you have a state filing requirement, make sure that you pick up a software that can take care of the state filing requirement, because it's much easier to do those at the same time. If your income is above the threshold so that you cannot get the software for free, then you could use the Free File Fillable Forms. However, it's a lot harder to use the Free File Fillable Forms because you're basically doing it by hand. All the information is available, it's all there, but especially this year, there's been a lot of changes. So you might, then consider buying the software and then using it, because it does have a lot of features in terms of interview questions and things that can help you out with these changes in the laws, and that could be useful. Or if your income is above that threshold, you might have a more complex return. If you have things like a Schedule A itemizing the deductions, or if you have a Schedule C that you've never done before, and you're not used to doing the Schedule Cs, that can complicate the return a lot. Doesn't mean you necessarily need more help, but in terms of a tax professional, but it does mean it's going to be more complicated and you're more likely to need more help. And if you have those components, I would at least, if it were myself, want to use software of some kind, as tax professionals will do. Software helps to double check things. So I would still try to use the software in that case generally, and or look up a tax professional at that point in time. If you are looking for a tax professional, I would then think to look for a tax professional not just for a one-time thing to get this year done, because if I now have a Schedule C business, it's likely I'm going to have it in the future as well. It's likely I'm going to need help with things like estimated tax payments, and therefore you want to look for someone that's going to be there a little bit longer, possibly a CPA or an enrolled agent that has experience with business type of returns and knows a little bit, if you need help with the accounting side of things. That's why I would think someone that has a bookkeeping background might be able to help you, or an accounting background. Then that might be good if you have a Schedule C type of business. So just keep that in mind. The Free File is also a great way to get other tax benefits like the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Additional Child Tax Credit. So remember, if you're not required to file, you think your income is below the threshold, you still generally want to file, because there's a lot of benefits that are there in general. They've been there in the past, but they've been extending the likelihood that you'll be accessing them in recent years. And these are refundable type credits, including the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Additional Child Tax Credit. These are complex credits due to the fact that they are refunded and have a refunding component. They have the phase out of income, phase out, and whatnot. So that's why, again, the software is really helpful to calculate these. And if you get the software for free, you might as well check it out. Even if you don't think that you owe any money, even if you don't think it's worthwhile to file, it might be, because you might get these refundable credits. and the software's for free, and it's fun to fill out your taxes. So you should check it out and look at the software and see what happens. So everyone should consider using Free File, especially those who didn't get the full first and second economic impact payments and may be eligible to claim the 2020 Recovery Rebate Credit when they file. So if you haven't received the Recovery Rebate Credit for round 1, 2, or 3, the remedy is to file the tax return. Although the format of the remedy when filing the tax return will be different, round 1 and 2 will then be actually calculated in the form of the Recovery Rebate Credit. So EIP 1 and EIP 2, Economic Impact Payment 1 and 2, will be calculated in the form of the Recovery Rebate Credit. The EIP 3 will not be on the tax return, but the IRS needs that information possibly in order to send out the third one. So in addition, there's mill tax. It's available for free through the Department of the Defense. Now that's the one for the military, of course. And I think even if you're over the income threshold, you have access to that if you are a member of the military. Now, note that if you're under the income threshold, then you could have access to both the mill tax or the other tax, the Free File software, like a TurboTax or something like that. And although the TurboTax is not designed specifically for people in the military, I do believe it has the capacity to do everything that's needed to be done for people in the military. So if you tell TurboTax in their interview process that you are a military member, then I think it'll help you out in the interview process to kind of lead you to giving them the added information that might be necessary in that circumstance. And of course, the mill tax you would think would be designed to do that as well. I'm just not sure. So I'm not sure which would be better in that situation is what I'm getting at, because the TurboTax is on the market, meaning it's competing with other software. And I'm not just trying to promote TurboTax, but any kind of software that's one of the top brands, which is the brands they're looking at here, are competing on the market. So I would think that they have a pretty good interview type of process, considering they're winning in a competitive setting. Whereas the mill tax is being created by the Department of Defense. It's not really competing with other software. So it might be really good. Mill tax might be really good. I don't know, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. So I'm not sure which would be better just in terms of ease of input if you had access to both of them for free. If your income goes, and I also think that the normal software up top, you might have more of ability to get it for free up to the $72,000, meaning some of the softwares, they have lower income limits than the other. But I think all of them might give you up to $72,000 for free if you're a member of the military. If you have over that amount, then I think the mill tax is going to be free, whereas the other software is not. So if anybody's used the two softwares and have a preference on them or know how good mill tax is in comparison to TurboTax, I'd be interested to hear your opinions on that. Interactive tax assistance. There's a link to that here. This online tool provides answers to tax law questions, directory of tax return preparers, so you can find the directory. The taxpayers who want to help with their taxes, this tool can help them find a tax professional in their area. There's a link to that here. There's the Where's My Refund tool. Taxpayers can check the status of their refund within 24 hours after the IRS has received their filed return. Once the IRS approves a refund, this tool will give the taxpayer a date by which to expect it. The IRS updates Where's My Refund once a day, usually overnight, so there's no need to check the status more often. Agency employees can only research a taxpayer's refund status 21 days after the taxpayer filed electronically, or if this tool directs the taxpayer to call the IRS. Currently, it is taking the IRS longer to process mailed documents, including paper tax returns and all tax return related correspondence. So they're underserved on the mail. They're trying to move away from the mail in general. So if you sent in the tax return by mail, it's going to take them longer to process. If you want them to take longer to process, meaning you want to meet the deadline, but you don't really care if they process the tax return because maybe you owe money and maybe you send the check in the mail and hope they don't cash it as long as they don't charge you penalties and interest or something like that. Maybe you mail it in, but it's going to take them longer to process it over there is the point. So if you're looking for a refund, then mailing something to the IRS is if you want them to actually open it and get back to you in an efficient amount of time, then you don't want to mail it. If you want to just meet a deadline, mail it and hope they don't open it for a long period of time, as long as they don't charge you any penalties and interest, then maybe you send it in the mail, see what happens. So it has taken the IRS more than 21 days to issue refunds for some 2020 tax returns that require review, including incorrect recovery rebate credit amounts or that use 2019 income to figure the earned income tax credit and additional child tax credit. So that's that funny rule where they said that you can actually use the 2019 income to figure out the credit in 2020 tax return, which again is a benefit, but it's really kind of confusing. And obviously it looks like it's confusing themselves at this point. So that might take longer if you filed in that situation. I won't go into that in detail right now. The taxpayers who request an extension can file when they are ready, but should file by the October 15th deadline to avoid penalties and interest that might apply. So for the procrastinators out there, that they got the extension in right like a minute before the extension deadline, you don't have to wait until the last minute to file. So you don't have to wait till like October, the day of October 15th to file. You can file anytime before that point in time. But if you are a procrastinator and you're saying that's no fun, I like to wait till the last minute and then turn it in at the buzzer when the pressure's on. When I submit my tax return and I hit that send button on the TurboTax, there's no safety net. If it doesn't go through, it's all over. It's going to be late. But for most people, you could file anytime before October 15th and it's fine. So in some cases, a taxpayer filing after the deadline may qualify for penalty relief. The IRS offers a variety of ways for taxpayers to pay their taxes. There's a link to those ways here. Special deadline exceptions may apply for some disaster victims, certain military service members, and eligible support personnel in combat zones. There's links to those areas if those areas apply to you. More information can be found at the links below, including the electronic filing options for individuals, tax topic 653, IRS notices and bills, penalties and interest charges, and paying your taxes. There's links to those reading materials here. There's a link to this in the description.